Hot news today. Google hit with $3.5 billion fine from European Union in AdTech antitrust case. European Union regulators on Friday hit Google with a €2.95 billion $3.5 billion fine for breaching the bloc's competition rules by favoring its own digital advertising services, but the bloc's latest move to crack down on big tech companies drew outrage from President Donald Trump. The European Commission, the 27-nation bloc's executive branch and top antitrust enforcer, also ordered the U.S. tech giant to end its self-preferencing practices and stop conflicts of interest along the advertising technology supply chain. It's the fourth time Brussels has sanctioned Google with a multi-billion-euro fine in an antitrust case, in a wider battle with regulators that dates back to 2017. Trump, whose administration has lashed out at the bloc over digital regulations and taxes imposed on U.S. tech companies, said the EU fine was effectively taking money that would otherwise go to American investments and jobs. Very unfair, and the American taxpayer will not stand for it, he said in a post on Truth Social. As I have said before, my administration will not allow these discriminatory actions to stand. The investigation focused on Google's AdX Exchange and DFP ad platform, tools that bring together advertisers who want to market their products with online publishers who want to sell commercial space on their websites. The company has 60 days to come up with proposed remedies. If it doesn't come up with a viable plan, the Commission will not hesitate to impose an appropriate remedy, Teresa Ribera, the European Commission's Executive Vice President overseeing competition affairs, said in a statement posted online. At this stage, it appears that the only way for Google to end its conflict of interest effectively is with a structural remedy, such as selling some part of its AdTech business, Ribera said. But the Commission said it first wants to hear and assess the company's proposal. Google said the decision was wrong and vowed to appeal. It imposes an unjustified fine and requires changes that will hurt thousands of European businesses by making it harder for them to make money, Leanne Mulholland, the company's global head of regulatory affairs, said in a statement. Ribera said that Google's illegal practices resulted in advertisers facing higher marketing costs that they likely passed on to European consumers through higher prices for products and services. At the same time, it also meant lower revenue for publishers, like news sites, which might have resulted in lower quality and higher subscription costs for consumers. The decision was overdue, coming more than 2 years after the European Commission announced antitrust charges against Google. It also comes amid renewed tensions between Brussels and Washington over trade, tariffs, and technology regulation. The Commission had said in 2023 that the only way to satisfy antitrust concerns about Google's lucrative digital ad business was to sell off parts of its business. Top EU officials have previously said that they were seeking a forced sale because past cases that ended with fines and requirements for Google to stop anti-competitive practices have not worked, allowing the company to continue its behavior in a different form. The Commission's penalty follows a formal investigation into online display advertising that had opened in June 2021, which found that since 2014, Google abused its dominant position in the ad technology ecosystem. Online display ads are banners and text that appear on websites and are personalized based on an internet user's browsing history. Mulholland said, "There's nothing anti-competitive in providing services for ad buyers and sellers, and there are more alternatives to our services than ever before." Corey Kreider, a senior fellow at the Future of Technology Institute think tank, said, "Europe made an important stand for the rule of law today by pressing ahead with this first-step fine in the face of Trump and big tech's bullying. But only a breakup will fix Google's monopoly, said Kreider, who's also an honorary professor at UCL Laws. If Europe's enforcers flinch on a breakup in the end, Google will rightly chalk a fine up as a win. While the EU's fine is a huge sum, it's pocket change for Google, which earned $28.2 billion in revenue in the second quarter. Google is also facing pressure on the other side of the Atlantic over its ad tech business. In a separate U.S. case, the Justice Department asked a federal judge in May to force the company to sell off its AdX and DFP services. The case is scheduled to move to the penalty phase, known as remedy hearings, later this month. The Commission said its finding that Google abused its dominance will be important for the remedy hearings because it's the same conduct that the Justice Department was investigating. Authorities in Canada and Britain have also targeted Google over its conduct in the digital ad industry. Google has already avoided a breakup earlier this week in the US, where it's under fire on a separate front after a US federal judge found it had an illegal monopoly in online search. On Tuesday, the judge ordered a shakeup of its search engine but rebuffed the government's attempt to force a sale of its Chrome browser. AP News.